Good evening, everyone. My name is Shakera Arnold, and I am from Belize, one of the countries in the Caribbean that is not an island, but is known for its impressive barrier reef system. My project was focused on evaluating conch monitoring programs, sampling designs and protocols to strengthen standardization for the collection of accurate data to make informed management decisions and ultimately ensuring a sustainable conch fishery in Belize. Belize is located in Central America, bordered on the north by Mexico, on the west and south by Guatemala, and on the east by the Caribbean Sea. The entire coast of Belize is dotted with hundreds of low-lying islands called keys that host rich marine life, including many suitable habitats for the queen conch. This can be seen on the map to your right, where all areas in light green is showing where the queen conch can be found throughout Belizean waters. I grew up near the sea, taking for granted that we will have these rich resources forever. However, when I became knowledgeable of the true facts that these species are being overexploited and poor management may not sustain their population, I began to advocate for their protection. To manage any fishery, there needs to be stock assessments. Stock assessments are of central importance to fisheries management. They characterize the trajectory of a stock and allow managers to adjust harvest rates accordingly to achieve sustainability. They need to be accurate and representative of an entire stock. Because of the cost of stock assessments, they are not common for many fisheries, especially coastal fisheries in the tropics. Therefore, government agencies would normally partner with conservation NGOs to achieve spatial and temporal coverage. But these collaborations need to use standardized sampling designs and protocols to integrate into a comprehensive assessment. Queen conch are large, edible marine gastropods with high economic and cultural values, making it iconic throughout most of the Caribbean region. They feed on algae and can be found in shallow back reef habitats, sand algal flats, and seagrass beds, fore reef, fringe reef, and patch reef habitats. In Belize, the conch industry is driven by the relatively small-scale fishers who utilizes skiffs and sailboats for conch harvesting. Conch represent one of the most important fishery resources in the region, but heavy pressures, both legal and illegal, has led to the depletion of stocks throughout the Caribbean. In Belize, conch is managed through a minimum fishing size of 178 millimeters total shell length, a minimum clean meat weight of 85 grams, a closed season from the 1st of July to 30th of September, and a fishing catch quota set for every open season. But despite all the attempts to manage the conch fishery, the species continues to be listed in Appendix 2 of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. Queen conch is the second most important fishery in Belize. It is a source of food and livelihood, it generates income and revenues, and its shell can also be used for music, jewelry, and ornamental purposes. They can also produce conch pearls that can fetch up to 10,000 US dollars if it is large and have exceptional flame. The problem is, if monitoring protocols and designs are not standardized, this can prevent application of all the data collected for crucial fisheries analysis and decrease the accuracy and value of these analyses. Therefore, standardization in data collection is important to make accurate analysis and ultimately sound management decisions. No evaluation has been done on existing sampling designs and protocols. Therefore, my projects seek to identify the scope and magnitude of non-standardized designs and sampling protocols among sampling programs and to propose and initiate solutions. To effectively and efficiently monitor any fishery, some data is needed and is necessary for rational, informed decision-making. The key lies in data collection. With standardized sampling designs and protocols in data collection, analysis on data would be made much easier and more complete as fisheries trends will be more detectable or more predictive, leading to improved management of the fishery. It can show whether management measures are having desired results in sustaining population of these commercially exploited species, and if not, whether there is need to adopt management strategies accordingly. The objectives of my project were to evaluate the standardization of sampling designs and protocols among programs, identify discrepancies, and to work with programs to achieve greater standardization. This effort will hopefully be a model for other Belizean fisheries, example of finfish, and eventually other fisheries across the Caribbean. In Belize, finfish makes up another major fishery and has not yet benefited from a structured monitoring program like the conch and lobster fishery. My approach to achieve those mentioned objectives was to make various comparisons among sampling programs. Comparisons included sampling time of survey, sampling intensity and consistency, which looked at the number of sites and transects sampled each year, comparison of sampling site coverage if there are overlaps and where these sites change in time, comparison of habitats surveyed, how these habitats are decided and how they change in time, comparison of the transect dimensions and consistency among sites and years, as well as comparisons of metric sample, which were count density and size. Comparison was also made for multi-year trajectories of the common metrics, especially at shared sampling areas. So here is what I found. For seasonal timing of surveys, everyone seemed to be conducting surveys generally around the same time for pre-season sampling just before the season starts and post-season sampling immediately after the season closes. However, there are some discrepancies that can be adjusted for standardized timing of sampling. For seasonal and annual consistency, there is general consistency since the year 2013. However, some programs need to be more consistent. Like the previous slide suggested, slight adjustment can achieve consistency. Here is a map showing a geographic distribution and representation of sampling locations. It shows extensive geographic coverage by generally complementing each other for a broad representation of the stock. Overlap allows for direct comparison between programs. This map is showing the Belize Fisheries Department's rapid survey for the year 2019 against the other program's seasonal sampling. This comparison would have been better if I could have compared the distribution of the Belize Fisheries Department's seasonal surveys that are concurrent with the other programs. But when I get that information, I can then be able to leverage those samples to compare results. Here is the comparison of habitat sample. The table shows where some programs characterize their habitats as fore reef, back reef, patch reef, seagrass, and sandflats. However, there are some discrepancies when compared with other programs. Programs characterize habitats differently, but this too can be standardized. as it prevents the total comparison of sampling allocation of programs among habitats. Here is a comparison of sample dimensions and density. To estimate density, you need to have all the data on transects available because density is the sum of the number of conch found on each transect divided by the length and number of the transect, which is the area covered. Most programs generally utilize the same transect dimension and number, however, a few deviated. Increased transect length by 2 programs would standardize the area sampled. Additionally, 2 programs need to provide sample size to interpret and compare density estimates. The metrics sampled are shell length and lip thickness. All programs measure the shell length to the nearest millimeter using a measuring board or a caliper, depending on the size of the conch. All programs also measure the lip thickness of those conch that have a lip. It is measured to the nearest 0.1 of a millimeter with a caliper. The little table to the bottom shows that conch in the size category J1 to J4 are all juvenile size conch. L1 and above are legal size adult conch. It takes about 5 to 10 months for a conch to grow up to 60 millimeters and an additional 1 to 3 years to reach legal adult size. Because sampling programs only deviate within a month or 2 of each other, there is not a significant difference on the metric sample because of the slow growth rate of the conch. Overall, there is substantial standardization in many elements of sampling designs and protocols. Increasing overall standardization is feasible. As evident by these results, I identified how specific programs can increase standardization for various elements of their programs. Now, I am left to finish and submit my report and present results to the Belize Fisheries Department, incorporate additional information they might provide, and distribute to the other monitoring organizations. Lastly, with Belize Fisheries Department, convene workshop to discuss implementation of the recommendations. Looking back, 2 years ago, before the Coastal Science and Policy Program, I did not have the confidence I now have to be in a leadership position above my post of a Marine Reserve Manager. I worked in that capacity directly overseeing 5 staff and the day-to-day management of a Marine Reserve. But now, I have more skills and confidence to contribute even more. I will use all the lessons learned from the implementation of the Capstone project to inform and shape my future work to minimize unforeseeable delays, which will allow me to be more alert and prepared and will pivot me towards maximum productivity. Regardless of the position I am given upon my return to work with the Belize Fisheries Department, I will carry out my duties and responsibilities to the best of my ability to bring about positive change for the department and the country on a whole, keeping in mind the department's mission, which is to provide the country of Belize and the people with the best possible management of its aquatic and fisheries resources with a view to optimize the present and future benefits through effective and sustainable management. Thank you all for your attention. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the University of California, Santa Cruz and all the staff and faculty of the Coastal Science and Policy Program, especially my advisor, Dr. Mark Carr. I would also like to thank my 2 main practitioner partners and all the other agencies that assisted me with the project. Thank you.